Hello everybody, welcome back to another video for the day, and we're diving right back into r/niceguystories, because you know everybody likes that good old-fashioned story time. Let's go. Our first story comes to us from username April Lola. Just realized I was married to a nice guy. This might be a long post and contains issues regarding abuse, TLDR below. My ex-husband is a nice guy. For context, I have been divorced/separated from my ex-husband for over 7 years. The last 4 years, he cut off contact with me over a stupid issue with our bank account. The last time I saw him was the day I divorced him. About 6 months ago, he started messaging me again. I always knew he was a butthole, but it didn't dawn on me how much of a nice guy he was until he started sending me messages about how being single sucks because he's always ready all the time and no one gives him a chance. He even made an apology about him being a dog, unable to control himself, but girls should look past that and realize he's a kind, sweet guy. When I first met him, he was really cute and nice. I had always had a crush on him, and it wasn't until I was 19 that we started dating. At that time, he was my best friend's brother-in-law. He has a twin of my best friend's husband. We also had known each other since we were teenagers, and we went to the same church, which plays a huge role in this later. At the time, I had just gotten out of an unhealthy long-term relationship. I had some doubts about getting into a relationship again at first, however, we started dating shortly after. Looking back, there were definitely telltale signs. However, I was naive and didn't fully grasp them. I started noticing weird things from him. Like, the first time I noticed something was off was when we had become very jealous of my past. At this point, we had agreed not to be active due to religious reasons. Needless to say, later that night, he manipulated me into giving him a BJ. To explain a little bit better, it was his first kiss, first everything. After that first experience, he was addicted. As time went on, I became more frustrated in his demands. He felt like he was entitled to messing around, that I owed him that. We weren't supposed to be active due to religious reasons, and we had to keep it as a secret from our friends and family. At this point, we were both virgins, but we did other things. Then we got engaged. My friends and family had their doubts. They could see his controlling nature. I was so worn down from it that I just thought it was normal. I still went through with the wedding. At this point, it was almost like he had a personality change. He felt as my husband that my body was his and I was to always submit to him. I needed to do all the cooking and cleaning, and he expected me to be just like his mother. Our honeymoon was a nightmare for me. For years, I didn't realize I had a condition called vaginismus, a condition where messing around is very painful and impossible. That was the biggest reason as to why I was still a virgin. Also, I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced that. So the night of our wedding, we were supposed to be messing around. I simply couldn't. Any attempt at messing around would result in me crying and having a panic attack. He would walk away frustrated. This continued into our honeymoon and 3 months into our marriage. During this time, he was cold to me, like I was withholding something that was his. I was so emotionally torn down that I was numb to it all. I went to a doctor who diagnosed me almost immediately. It was a relief for me to finally know I wasn't broken. My doctor referred me to a physical therapist. I never went to the physical therapist. He threw a fit about it costing money even though we had insurance. He insisted he could cure me himself. His method of curing me was messing around. One night, he really pushed attempting to mess around. I repeatedly told him I didn't want to try. That was the first time he roped me. It was excruciatingly painful. I didn't see his actions for what they were at the time. After all, his wife, was supposed to submit to him. This kind of behavior continued for about 3 months. He was so manipulative, he would wear me down until I'd be messing around with him. I didn't matter how much it hurt me. Oftentimes, he wouldn't let me sleep or eat until we had messed around. I had told a coworker what was going on. He was appalled and showed me how this wasn't normal behavior. He was the first person to show me kindness. We grew close, and that's when I began my affair. At this point, I was done with my marriage. I wanted out. My church wasn't happy with my decision. I told my soon-to-be ex about the affair, and I wanted a divorce. He tried to convince me to stay, and we even went to therapy paid for by my church, but my mind was made up. I couldn't stand another second with him, and in his mind, he thought I wanted to leave because he was bad at messing around. One day, after work, he forced himself on me to prove he wasn't bad at that, and I moved out with the next week. To this day, he uses my affair as an excuse for his shoddy behavior. He sees himself as this good, chivalrous guy. He is still obsessed with messing around and thinks it's okay because it cures his depression. After 4 years of no contact, he texted me out of the blue and told me about his second divorce and asked for nudes. I went off on him, screenshotting everything and sent it to his twin brother. Later, I got a half-assed apology. He texted me about his girl problems, which I never asked about. His frustrations on being single and ready. He is obsessed with this particular girl. He wanted to be friends with benefits, but he was too chivalrous, then complained a week later about her not wanting to mess around with him. He's clueless as to why most girls won't give him a chance, and he still uses my affair to justify why he's controlling and entitled to it. TLDR, my ex-husband was abusive. He feels entitled to messing around. He complains about being lonely and often ready, and he can't keep a girl around and doesn't understand why girls won't give him, the nice guy, a chance. Thank you for reading. I'm hoping things are better for you now. Our next story comes for us from username Flarefighters. It was a church thing. Nothing bad can happen at church. Context for the story. I do not go to church, but one of my guy friends does. Sometimes his church will host these parties that anyone was invited to as long as they filled out the forms. I went to one 4 years ago now. When I was 15, my friend was 15, and the creep was 16 or 17. And for this one, we got to go to a bowling alley for some time at the lanes. We got to stay at the church and just relax and eat some snacks and generally be kids. And where this story will mostly take place, a large place with bounce houses, laser tag, mini golf, and an arcade. We went in 3 different groups to each of these places throughout the night. My friend and I have been friends for a while, and I was the only one able to go with him from our friend group, so I don't really know anyone there besides my friend, and because we were relaxed with each other, people thought we were dating for the longest time. So my friend's mom picked me up from the house to take me to the church so we could all hang out while everything was being set up. We hung out for a while, me meeting some of my friends, let's call them A friends, and then we got into our groups. Me and A were in the first group to go to the laser tag place, and we were stoked. I had never been laser tagging, but A had, and we really wanted to try going against each other since I was known to get the drop on our friends when doing literally anything else. So we go in line after being given the basic rundown of the rules to not break anything and to follow the normal rules of the place, and because the line was a pretty long one, we had time to goof off for a while. We had a fun time just being ourselves, and eventually we went in and played a round of laser tag and went off without any incidents. After that, we decided to just play some arcade games and even went to the bouncy castles and even played a round of mini golf. During all of this, a creepy dude was watching us as we did all of this. Neither of us was aware at the time, but A's mom was not happy and she talked to him about not doing that. He said he wouldn't do that anymore. After the round of mini golf, we got back in line for laser tag, still unaware of what was going on with the creep. C is playing a game at the arcade while me and A have fun, and A says something about not thinking I'm strong enough to lift him up since he's like 6 foot and I'm 5'9" at the time. And I do lift him up, and everyone in the line laughs at this. We do more stupid stuff like that because the line is really freaking long. When we are getting close to the front of the line though, we stop to start trash talking each other. C decides that is the time to get close to us. He comes right up and starts ragging about A right to me and right in front of A about me lifting him up, and C decides to try and pick me up as proof that anyone could pick up anyone without my permission to touch me. Note, he basically is reaching for my lower waist and upper leg to pick me up, and since this was my first time meeting him, yeah. So I back up and A puts an arm around me basically in a non-verbal way to say back off and to keep him away from me. C does not like this. I forget what he said exactly, but he was basically trying to show how much of an alpha male TM he was. Me and A just start to ignore him, and A takes his arm off my shoulder since he realizes without me telling him that I am starting to get uncomfortable with his arm being there. C thinks this is his chance. He moves in to put his sweaty arm over both of my shoulders and pushes his body up against mine and starts talking trash about A again. I shrug him off, and since both me and A have bad enough, we just get out of line and go back to the bouncy castles. In the castles where everything bounces, me and A mess around a bit to try to get comfortable again, because that had me pretty close to an anxiety attack. I hate being touched by people except for a small amount of people I can name on one hand, so we just mess around for a good 15 minutes. I get to the point I won't break down over something small, and C decides to come into one bouncy castle where we were and push A away from me and push me into a corner. Me and A collectively decide that no, we are getting out of here, is the best train of thought we could have ever had, while C thinks this is an ample time to get what he thought he deserved. Keep in mind this is a public place, and this bouncy castle, while in the far corner of the place, still had a few people going by. So C keeps pushing both of us down, and we tell him to stop multiple times, and A even loudly exclaims that we just want to leave. C does not like that. C pushes A to the corner furthest away from both me and the exit and pushes me onto my stomach on the other corner. C gets on top of me and I struggle to get up. I can feel his hands where they should not be and I am panicking a lot. A gets up to rip C off me and I try to get on my feet, but I am still panicking and C is jumping, so I fall over. C pushes A away from me again and gets on top of me again and starts to whisper near my ear, and A, in a fit of rage I have never seen before or this moment, grabs C off of me and I scramble to get away again, but C still gets up to block the exit. C is still trying to get at me and I am so close to melting down I am shocked I didn't have a full-blown anxiety attack until after I get home. Eventually, A gets him away from the exit and pushes him down into a corner, and we both bolt out of there and sit where the adults could see us. A and I sit there for a while, and C walks out of the bouncy castle looking pissed at us and is glaring at A. I am close to passing out, so A gets up and gets our shoes and sits back down with us. A's mom is obviously concerned about what happened, and I can't speak, so A recalls what had happened to her away from me, and I am visibly shaking. I just stay close to A, and once we leave, he sits right next to me on the van in the back, so there is no way he can bother me unnoticed. Back at the church, I finally have some control over what I can say, and me and A tell another adult, and she takes us to the pastor, who once he hears about it just says, "Oh, well, I will look into it." He goes, but C's mother claims he has a mental disorder of some kind, and we get told that C is just going to stay away from us for the rest of the night. I tell him I just want to go home, but he does not allow it. I still have plenty of activities to do, and it'd be a shame if I didn't do them all. So I just stick close to A and spend the rest of the night not doing anything because I am too scared of the possibility of getting close to him. The woman adults there are keeping a very close eye on C for the rest of the night, which I am very grateful for. And after me doing nothing but sitting next to A for all of the activities at the church, one woman tries to get me to bowl at the bowling alley, last activity for the night before going home. A few hours after that had gone down, and I finally regained my voice that had went away again when the pastor had said he was just going to leave an eye on him for the rest of the night. I say no, but the kind of forced me to bowl for A, who was trying to get me to move by myself again, and I did. First thing I did on the way home was try to tell my mom, but she didn't believe me at all since it was a church thing. Nothing bad can happen at church, and I just got to my room to listen to music and try not to cry. I spent the rest of the weekend in my room, not coming out unless I was sure nobody else was in the house. And about a month after this, touching me even slightly was a no-go for everyone, and I did meet up with C's mother, who told me that if I didn't want things like that to happen to me again, I wouldn't have dressed like a slut and acted like a slut to A. Oh boy, oh frickin' boy, if my men's section clothes were slutty enough for C, I'd hate to see him out and about. The only saving grace in this story was A, who has been my friend for now almost 10 years, and that's literally it. TLDR, because I was friendly with my friend, a creep thinks we were dating and tries to rope me in a public space to show he's some sort of alpha male. You know, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you caught any ties with that church, because especially how the parents handled it by blaming it on the clothes. Like, yeah, that's totally the reason why I wanted to get those clothes. That's definitely what I wanted to look forward to that. Anybody that thinks that that statement is a valid statement is no smarter than a sack of rocks. Well, if she didn't want that to happen, she wouldn't have dressed that way. No. And that is going to have to be it with the video. If you would like to show your support for the channel and upcoming videos, be sure to slam the like button and leave a comment down below. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll be sure to see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and bye-bye.